This is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum against AEW Dark. This is from June 29th, 2021. A little over an hour and a half, 15 matches. Episode, my God, what is it, 95? Woo! Been doing this for a minute. A lot of, again, Dark has taken to these matches that are incredibly, blindingly fast, and this one was no exception. Excalibur and Taz are on commentary. Baron Black against Wardlow. When you have a match like this that is what I would call a squash or a jobber match, of which comprise the majority of these YouTube AEW shows, it's a 3-check system. So first check, did somebody get put over properly in a definitive fashion? Yes, Wardlow knocked out Black with that knee. A second check mark if they look good in the process. Yes, Wardlow looked good here. And then a third check mark if the person who lost did a great job or was given a disproportionately large amount of offense. In this case, yeah, Baron Black did what he needed to do. I'm surprised they used Baron Black in this role because normally he's a guy that kind of gets to run with the guys a little bit, kind of in the same way as like a Danny Limelight or a Very Morales. But they used him as a squash, and he got squashed. So 3 check marks. Second match, speaking of Very Morales, here he is with Lee Johnson. I would almost call this a competitive match, but Lee Johnson is clearly more of a made man than Very is at this point. But it is one of the most competitive matches on the card, even more competitive than the so-called main event. Very Morales looks phenomenal here and is probably going to take our Performer of the Week honors as he is wont to do. Definitely a good match. Johnson plants him after hooking his leg. They're still looking for a thing for Lee Johnson, clearly. But Very Morales was a very capable opponent and made him look great. 3 check marks all around. Hyan versus Abaddon. This is an Abaddon match. So Hyan gets nothing. Gets clobbered, and then luckily Abaddon is going to that leg DDT thing rather than what she used to do. So 3 check marks for Hyan. Did a good job of selling and being scared of Abaddon, and that's what that's all about. Match number 4, Marco Stunt against Powerhouse Hobbs. Stunt hit the midsection of Hobbs, but then that is it. Caught Stunt in midair, hit the town business. That's the end of the match. Woof. No Hook or Ricky Starks in the corner, which I thought was interesting. I'm going to give this 3 check marks. I can't call it competitive because Marco Stunt is no longer in the category of a guy who wins or who you expect to ever win, honestly. Match number 5, Kenny Bengal versus Lance Archer. Bengal tried walking to the back. Archer chased him down, threw him in, planted him with a clothesline, choke slammed him, and then hit him with the helicoaster. Brutal, brutal, brutal stuff. So 3 check marks, and we're moving on. Charlotte Renegade against Tay Conti. Usually Tay Conti gives a little more in matches. In this case, definitely dominates the match and hits the DDT for the win, not a submission, which I think is nice to mix that up. 3 check marks. We're rolling along. It's very typical Dark show. Then we get Chad Lennox and Zachariah against QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. This match was more competitive. Zachariah actually got to get in there and do some stuff. But at the end of it, I think QT Marshall, now his offense is becoming more heel-oriented, which I like. He throws people around and brutalizes them a little more. But Solo gets that pin with the diving foot stomp. A good match here. One of my favorites of the card, which surprised me a little bit. 3 check marks, and we're moving on. JD Drake and Frankie Kazarian, I would still not call this competitive. But JD Drake, definitely got his offense in. Kazarian's good and giving like that. Kazarian does a crossface chicken wing for a finisher now, which kind of fits with his elite hunter gimmick and image that he is doing. Definitely workmanlike, 2 guys that really know their way around a wrestling ring. Good match, 3 check marks. Arjun Singh versus Angelico. Angelico hits that Navarro death roll, and Singh got some offense here. You're going to against Angelico, but for the most part, this is a dark match, so he dominated and won with the submission. Holiday, which I was thrilled to see against Nyla Rose, which I was not thrilled to see because that means you're not going to get much offense lately. And this was no exception, but great. Holiday being here means hopefully Holiday is going to be working with AEW quite a bit. But Nyla Rose just finished her off in no time flat, really. 3 check marks. We're rolling along. Now we have our first competitive match, Sunny Kiss versus The Blade. I noticed they haven't really done anything with this Sunny Kiss splitting from Joey Janela thing, which is a little odd to me. In any case, Blade dominates early, multiple neck breakers in the middle of the ring. Kiss gains momentum, hits that splitting leg drop, and got close to a win here, but the Blade eventually hits a power slam, and then that gut wrench move that he does that I like quite a bit, actually. A good competitive match. So in the competitive matches, the 3 check system is a little different. You get a check mark if both people look good, which most certainly happened here. A second check mark if the person who won did so in definitive fashion, and I think so. We're establishing a finisher for the Blade here. And then a third check mark if something feels like it is advanced. In this case, I don't think that's the case. Well, no, that's not true because the Blade is establishing a finisher. So I will call that a third check mark. Nicely done. Ashley D'Ambrose against Julia Hart. Julia Hart keeps on winning. She did lose that one match to Penelope Ford on Dynamite, but beyond that, they're giving Julia Hart the win, and this one is no exception. So 3 check marks. And then finally, well, not finally, we have 3 more matches. But this is a competitive match. Jack Evans and the Private Party of Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy against Dark Order, Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and Colt Cabana. This feud here seems to be the closest thing to 50-50 booking going on at AEW, as the Dark Order managed to pick up the win here, especially with Cabana looking very dominant in this one. And Jack Evans taking the fall. Was the match good for both sides? Absolutely. Was the match definitively won? I would say so. And then a third check mark, was something advanced? Yes, I think this thing between the Hardy family and the Dark Order will continue. Good stuff. JDX against Shawn Dean, the captain. We haven't seen Shawn Dean in quite a while, and wins here with the Margarita submission hold, and made JDX tap out for the win. Pretty much, it's a brief match, but it was a back and forth. But Shawn Dean quietly picking up, I believe, his 9th overall win in 2021. Holy guacamole. And then finally, our main event, which really wasn't a main event, so I'm not going to treat it as if it was an even contest, because it most certainly was not. Sage Scott and Jake St. Patrick against Ryan Nemeth and Cesar Bononi. Cesar Bononi throwing people around, and then Nemeth hits that Rude Awakening neck breaker. It was all right. One check mark for Ryan Nemeth and Cesar Bononi looking good and winning in definitive fashion. The losing team really didn't have a chance to look good, and they didn't particularly, there was nothing that stood out about them, so I'm not going to give it that third check mark. So we didn't have 3 check marks all night long, but we had a very solid dark, and that was that. Congratulations to Very Morales to showing out once again, and for Shawn Dean for his return.